Cool. Let me know once you see it.
Cool. I see the screen.
Okay, fantastic. So, generally speaking, how Overwatch is formed up is you have 2 tanks. So my writing is terrible, just bear with it.
No problem.
2 supports, and you have 2 DPS. Okay. Generally, you have 2 types of tanks. You have your main tank and your off tank. The main tank's whole role is to create space within the team. So the main tank is there to make sure that the enemy isn't taking up too much space and thus pushing your team into a position where you can't really fight.
Okay.
So lots of people in bronze, silver, low gold, even gold, will bitch about a Pharaoh. So they'll complain about this Pharaoh that keeps wrecking them. But if you go look at how their team is standing, generally speaking, the 2 tanks create this front line over here, and then the choke, they go and stand within the choke. And because they're standing within the choke, there's not enough space for the DPS players here at the back to take care of a Pharaoh that is hovering just above choke on their side. Okay, so that's an example of kind of like space creation and how you need to be able to take space as a main tank and why that's important. So just make this a lot bigger. Clean this up a bit here. Okay. So essentially the main tank is there firstly to protect his team, secondly to create and then take up space. So he wants to be taking up that space so that the DPS are in more suitable and easier situation to kind of shoot the enemy team. Later on we'll be discussing, you'll hear me discuss high ground usage. That's the same thing. So you need to be making. Wow, why is that in that color? Man alive, I'm fucking up horribly here. Just a sec. I'm so confused. Like, I clicked on white as a color. It doesn't want to work with me right now. Okay.
Just a quick question. Do you use Epic Pen?
No. What is it? Epic Pen?
Yeah, so it's a little program that allows you to draw anywhere on your screen. So it makes it easy to explain stuff.
Yeah, it sounds exactly what I want. Okay, great. I'm gonna let that install while we fuck around here in Paint. Okay, so essentially, I'm not actually going to give you the descriptions of each. I'm just going to give you a breakdown. So, main tank creates space, then takes up that space later on. Off tank has to essentially help the main tank in the front lines. So, you'll notice lots of the heroes that you'll be playing are stuff like Zarya. So, you'll be Zarya, Hog. Oh, I cannot write like this. Diva and Wistad Wrecking Ball. Okay. So those are generally speaking your 4 off tanks. However, Wrecking Ball is also a main tank. Okay. So off tank's whole role and whole idea behind that is to maintain the space that the main tank is making. So if he's pushing up his main tank and he's trying to get into a choke area that's over here, you as off tank should be helping him by not standing directly behind him or directly next to him, just at the off angle, so that at any point in time when his shield breaks or he becomes too low, when he backs up, you as off tank can then move in front of him to take the oncoming damage.
Okay.
Okay, you see. So, with that being said, your main tank duties are firstly peeling. So, what peeling means is, generally speaking, in Overwatch, you have a front line. You have a front line over here. Then you have a back line over here. Why did I do that? We'll call it BX, whatever. So this is your back line over here. Here's your front line. And your DPS are generally sitting in between here and stuff. Your supports are sitting at the back here. And your tanks are sitting in front here. So generally speaking, the supports that are at the back will be stuff like Ana, Zen, Mercy to an extent. but more speaking would be stuff like Widow also sits in the backline, so she's a DPS that doesn't sit in this middle ground area here. She sits in backline, the same as Hanzo, etc., Ash, and whatnot. Okay, so for off tank, your whole role is to be managing your resources between both frontline and backline. So you as off tank over here need to be making sure that when your frontline struggles and is under pressure, that you can move in front and help out with blocking damage. On top of that, you need to be ready to turn around to deal with flankers trying to take down your backline. So enemy flankers are stuff like Genjis, Tracers, Doomfists, even a Pharah that flanks or Reaper that flanks. You as off tank need to be trying to deal with that and helping your backline to kind of survive.
Okay, and that was the off tank role as well.
Yes, that is off tank role. So that's your role. Okay. Now you have main support and off support. Okay, so main support is generally speaking the person that's going to be healing the most. So the main support is generally stuff like Mercy, Moira, Anna, Lucio to an extent, but mostly Mercy, Moira, Anna. The reason those main supports exist or even have the title main support is that they grant the most healing within the team. So they're meant to be the ones with gold healing, and they're meant to be the ones that are keeping everyone alive. Okay? Lots of times as a main support player, your only job and your primary job should be healing the whole team. But first and foremost, making sure that your main tank stays up, and secondly, that your off support stays up. Because if your off support dies, you can't get healing fast as quickly as you need it. So if we go look at Anna's kit, she has a grenade, she has a sleep dart, but she doesn't have regen like Mercy does, for instance. Mercy, on the other hand, if you shoot her and you stop shooting her for a second, that's when she starts regening. So if you just bring a diva and you don't stop shooting the Mercy, then she's never going to regen. Same with Moira. Moira needs to waste an orb in order to heal herself. So for main support, your biggest duty is keeping the rest of the team up, but making sure you don't die, making sure that you're playing in a safe enough position to keep yourself and the rest of the team alive. Okay, so that's main support. Got that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So then we move on to off support. So off support is generally where what we call utility comes into the game. So when I speak about utility, I speak of things such as an Anna nade, a Mercy damage boost, a Zenyatta Discord orb, a Lucio speed boost, stuff like that. So things that help the team, generally speaking. So, for instance, Anna's nade, so grenade grants anti-heals if it's popped on the enemy team, which means they can't heal. Okay, so this is utility. That is the worst spelling of utility ever. Okay, so then we have Lucio speed. We have Zen Discord. Wow. Cannot write a D, evidently. Zen's Discord, Lucio speed, Anna's nade, Mercy's damage amp. So I'm just going to say damage amp there. And essentially, when you speak of utility in Overwatch, utility is offering something that the normal hero wouldn't. So for instance, if you were to run a main support Mercy, then she would generally just be healing and damage boosting now and then. If you were to be running a utility Mercy or an off support Mercy, then what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot more damage amp coming from her, because her role in the team has changed. So for instance, the reason why I'm explaining the difference to you here is because if you run Anna, Mercy, okay, one of two things can happen here. Anna can take main support, and Mercy can take off support. In that case, your utility is the damage amp. Or You can take Mercy as main support, and you can take Anna as off support, and then the grenade becomes your utility item. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the person that is the main support is going to be doing most of the healing. So they don't have time to do these things because they need to be used for heals.
Okay.
You get me? Okay. So that's where your off support comes in. This moves me on to the DPS. DPS isn't as simple as just 2 roles. There are craploads of different roles for DPS technically. Technically speaking, there are things such as flankers, there are things such as utility DPS, there are things such as builders, and then there is hit scan and projectile. Okay? Lots of all of those roles overlap one another. The main predominant 2 you want to be looking at are the projectile role and the hit scan role. Okay. So, generally speaking, projectile heroes are heroes that have projectile attacks. So, Pharah, Junkrat, Hanzo, Genji, Doomfist, anything that has a projectile, so Symmetra, rather than, for instance, a hit scanner, which is Soldier, McCree, Widowmaker, Tracer, etc. The difference between hit scan and projectile is the fact that a projectile has travel time within the game, so you need to aim in front of him or behind him. Sorry, I'm just explaining as if you're 5.
No problem.
This is where to get things in. Hit scan instantaneously hits where you shoot. There is no travel time on the bullet. So, generally speaking, your 2 DPS slots swap into a projectile and a hit scan, because generally speaking, you want 1 hit scan and 1 projectile, just to make sure that they don't bring the Pharah. I'm speaking defensive holds here now. But, with that being said, you also get a utility DPS, you get flankers, and you get builders. Okay. Now, builders, flankers, and utility, all 3 of those fall under projectile and hit scan. So if you were to think about it, it would be projectile here with hit scan, and then each of these 2 entities, so both of them, have flankers in them, utility, and what was the other one? Builders. So builders and utility, lots of people kind of combine into one class. For this, I'm not going to go over builders, so I'm just going to speak about builders as if they are utility, because they, generally speaking, are very close to one another. The difference between builders and utility is like minor differences. There's almost no point in doing it. Okay, so let's look at utility, flankers, and projectile hit scan. So projectile heroes, as I already mentioned, have travel time. So travel time on the bullets, and they are used, generally speaking, to spam down hero shields. So Junkrat, Hanzo, Pharah, all of those heroes are generally there to break the shield so that the hit scan DPS can walk behind that shield. To give you an example, you have a Junkrat and a Widowmaker. Junkrat's job is to break down the Reinhardt shield and break down Zarya as much as they can. As soon as that shield goes down, the Widowmaker wants to be headshotting the Zenyatta behind the shield. So that's kind of how you want to be doing it. Flankers are heroes that, generally speaking, if a fight is taking place like this, flankers are generally, if they're attacking you like this, flankers are the ones that are going to be wrapping around like this. So this will be your Sombras, your Genjis, your Tracers, even Soldier can do it to an extent, Pharah can do it to an extent, Reaper can do it to an extent. It's all about how your DPS plays. If he's more of a flanking style or if he's more team-based fighting. Okay. So flankers are generally people going around the sides. Now let's talk about utility. So utility, generally speaking, is when you pick a hero to shut down the enemy team's hero. So a utility pick, for instance, would be picking a Sombra when the enemy team has Wrecking Ball, because the utility that the Sombra brings is a hack. Because you're hacking things, that utility makes a massive difference within the game, because you can hack the Wrecking Ball every single time he moves into the fight, which means you're utilizing his hack to get a ping every single fight. Okay, you get me?
Yeah.
So utility are more there for specific reasons. For instance, they have run every single round. They have run let's say a Genji that is fucking you guys completely up, and your one player can play Doomfist. If you play that Doomfist in a utility type style rather than a flanking style, then the Doomfist sticks with the team, and as soon as Genji comes in, he just punches them into a wall. So you're using the insta-give ability of the Doomfist to utilize his right click to get a kill every fight off the Genji. And his utility is to kill the Genji. That's his only utility. You get me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's all the basic roles, generally speaking. I'm not going to go over in-depth comps. I don't see a need for that at this point in time. That will come with time, etc. Cool, so let's go over the tanks. Can you...
Oh yeah, let me just log on.
Yeah. You can ask questions at any time, by the way, so go for it if you need.
Actually, I do have a question. The question is, so the general pattern when you're playing is generally take out the enemy supports first. Is that, when I play, when I see a tank and I see a support, I usually go for the support first. Is that the right move to make?
Okay, so lower level of play, yes. But at higher level of play, what you're going to see is you're going to see, let's say this choke, for instance, and you're attacking choke, so we're looking at choke. Here's a big ass wall just going that way and that way, right? And we're walking in over here. What we're going to see is, generally speaking, we're going to see the two tanks here. We'll maybe see a DPS over there with there, and those two supports you're talking about are probably behind the corner over here, inside the choke. So chances are you're not even going to see the support. So relatively speaking, with how target focusing goes in lower elos, you want to focus support first and then everything else. The higher up you go, the more you need to understand about what your win condition is. So win and loss conditions. Okay? How these work is essentially, let's say you walk into a fight, this next fight, you have to get 33% on point. You have Genji Blade, you have Nano. So you have Genji Blade, you have Nano Boost, you have Zarya Graviton, and you have Reinhardt Shatter. Okay? You even have a Trance. So you've got 5 ult. Your team is 5 ults. But what you do know is that they, on the enemy team, have a Trance and a Lucio ult. Which means this next fight, just saying focus supports first isn't going to cut it. What you need to do is focus out the Lucio till he ults. Then everyone needs to back up. Go back in when the Lucio ult wears off, then focus the Zen to Trance. As soon as the Zen's Trance, everyone's got to back up. And as soon as that Zen Trance is done, then you can pop your Genji Blade. You get me?
Yep.
So, in the higher the elo, the more advanced and abstract the plan is. So just saying focus supports isn't going to cut it. Generally speaking, what I like to say is the first person you want to focus is an out of position target. So out of position targets are generally people that have moved out of the way. So let's say the support that was back there moves in front here. The Ana moves in front there to nade your Ryan here. He's out of position there. If you act fast enough, you'll kill him. You get me?
Yep.
Secondly, after out of position targets, you want to be focusing overextended targets. So targets, these two kind of go hand in hand. So overextended target is generally just someone that's in your backline. So they've gone somewhere and they can't get out of there. You get me?
Yeah.
So out of position just means that person's not in the position they're meant to be. Overextended means they're in a position where they're not meant to be and they've used all their abilities to get there, so they can't get out. An overextended target is easier to kill than an out of position target.
Okay.
Next, I would say are low targets. So any low targets in the vicinity. Then you want to be, with all of this, you want to also be checking for not low targets, ulting targets. So targets that you know will have their ults. Okay. This is generally speaking. And then lastly, on top of this, you want to be focusing the target that is doing the most work. So the MVP.
Okay.
Focusing out the MVP and making sure he can't do his job to win the game.
Okay.
Okay, is this helping?
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad. Cool. So that's generally target priority. Target priority falls under microcalling. So generally your microcaller, you have every team as a microcaller, or let me not say every team. Generally speaking, most teams have a microcaller, a macrocaller, macrocaller, and then they have a strategist. Okay. These three roles can be the same person. So for my last team, I was all three of these. Generally, what you want to be doing is splitting them. Your strategist is the person coming up with the composition. So he says, look, we're going to run Ryan, Orisa, Bastion, Torb with Mercy, Anna. We're going to run that on defense. Bastion, you set up on the right-hand side high ground with the Ryan Shield. Orisa, you set up on the left-hand side high ground with the Torb ult, with the Torb and the Torb turret. Anna, you stay by Torb. Mercy, you stay by Bastion. If shit hits the fan, Anna nade the Bastion. If shit hits the fan other side, Mercy turn around to hop the Torb. Because as a strategist, what you should be doing is deciding on composition, deciding how you want to run that composition. So you get strats and comps. Comps is just picking the heroes purely. Strats are then deciding how do you take those heroes and that team and how do you play that composition in your favor. Okay. So that's what your strategist is doing. Your microcaller is someone calling these targets. So calling the targets you need to be focusing, and generally speaking, calling when you should disengage and engage. Okay? It's very important. The disengage and engage calls can also come from the macro caller. It can also come from the main tank, even from a support. Generally speaking, though, the macro caller or the micro caller does it. But micro caller's biggest job is calling the target that needs to be focused. And in the mid-fight area, he's the one relaying all the information to the rest of the team. So the team gives him crap loads of information, and he decides on a call based off of that afterwards. Most important thing about the macro caller is no one should doubt it. Everyone should be super confident in his calls, even if they're wrong. Mid-game, you can't all decide, no, we're not going to listen to that guy, do your own thing. You'll die faster than if you follow his instructions. So rather, everyone follow up with the wrong call than everyone doubt that call and then die doing other shit. Okay. The macro caller is the person trying to convey which ultimates the enemy team has and which ultimates we are going to use in this next fight. So as I've mentioned before, as a macro caller, you'll wait for the fight to finish. As soon as you've regrouped or reset up your defense, you say, okay, their Zen has ultimate, so does their Genji, so does their Ana. Zenyatta, save your ultimate for Genji Blade. Make sure that when he gets nanoed, that our Ana makes sure she nades him. Sorry if you need to grab their Genji preemptively. Okay. Or Ana, save your nade for the Grav because we know that Zenyatta has trance, thus we can completely negate trance. On top of that, I want us to use our ultimates early. That's what your macro caller is doing. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Great. So I think that takes us over base theory. Do you know how maps work and understand how they play? If you could put it that way.
Not really.
Okay. Do you want me to go over that quick?
Sure.
Okay. Cool. So we've got 4 map types. 2CP. Then you have control, or Koth, as people like to call it, King of the Hill. And then you have payload, and you have hybrid. Not there. Hybrid. Okay, so hybrid, as its name suggests, is a hybrid between payload and TCP. So that is what hybrid is, okay? Essentially how 2CP works is there are 2 points that you need to cap. You get 4 minutes per point on your first push. You need to touch the point in the last, I think it's the last 3 seconds, or on as the actual countdown timer goes to trigger overtime.
Alright.
On top of that, if you've capped the first point, that is when you get added 4 minutes, only on your first push.
Okay.
If it's your second push, so the only time you'll ever get a second push of the map, so this is if you've capped both points and you have more than a minute on the clock. So if you have more than a minute on the clock and they have any time for that matter, it's fine. But how it works is, let's say you push the map with 10 seconds left on the clock, okay? And they finish the map with 5 seconds on the clock. How it will work is both of these times would be taken, and the smaller one would be moved to a minute, and then the difference between this time and a minute gets added to this time. So in this case, this is 55 seconds difference to get to a minute. So their second push for the enemy, is now a minute long. And in order to figure out how much our time is, we say that we take a minute minus the 5 seconds. We get 55 seconds, we add that onto this, so we get a minute and 5 seconds. Thus, they will attack first for our second push now. Do you understand that?
So.
Okay, cool. You'll catch on as you play. Don't worry.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so in your second push then, if you cap a point, you get plus 30 seconds. You don't get plus 4 minutes now per point. Okay. And then from there, you all push till you're done. If you, however, finish your TP map with more than a minute left on the clock, and they have no time left on the clock, so 0 seconds on the clock left, then you get one last push, and you just need to get 33% of point, and they don't get a push. In this case, when you hit this case where you've pushed with more than a minute and they've pushed with overtime or 0 seconds, then you have essentially made sure that you can either draw or win. You can't lose in that scenario. Okay. Cool. So next map type is Koth. Actually just gonna do this and then do that. Do it like this. Alright. Save paste. Okay, cool. So then for the Koth, these are best of 3 maps. So it's 3 maps and you play until you've got 2 points. How it works is it starts at 0% each. then what needs to happen is you get 30 seconds countdown timer in the beginning. After those 30 seconds, point gets opened. You need to cap it with a dial. So there's a dial on point that you'll see it fills with the team's color. And that tells you who's in control of point and who's trying to cap point. The team that is in control of point, will keep gaining percentage until this dial is filled by the enemy.
Okay.
Each percentage on this clock is equal to 1 second. So if they have 95% and they've just capped point, you have 5 seconds to get to point.
Okay.
Generally speaking, how you need to think of these maps is that every percent you get is a percent they don't get. So if someone, for instance, on your team stalls for 10 seconds on point, he's effectively gained your team 20%. Because he's denied them 10%. And he's gained your team 20% and your team 10%.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Okay, so then let's move on. Okay, so then we go to payload maps. Payload maps are very easy. You start off with 4 minutes. There are always 3 points that you capture throughout the map. So if the map looks like this, here's a checkpoint, there's a checkpoint, there's a checkpoint. The map is done at point 3, point 2, point 1. Here's your spawn. When you are pushing to point 1, your defender's spawn is at point 2. So this is the defender's spawn. Actually, you're going to do this. And then do this. So that's defender's spawn. Here's attacker's first spawn, is where the payload is. So there's payload. So here's attacker's spawn. Essentially, what you want to be doing is when you're pushing 2.1, your spawn is technically closer than their spawn. When you cap point 1, your spawn moves to it, and their spawn moves on to point 3.
Okay.
What's important about this piece of information is that if you, let's say, kill 3 of them, and then you push it, and you're almost at point 1, and then the other 3 rock up and you kill them, then you cap cart before they respawn. It means that 3 people are on their way from point 2 to point 1, and 3 people are respawning at point 3.
Okay.
Which means that this distance for them to get to help their teammates up front here is going to take longer than it is for you to just wreck their teammates over there.
Okay.
Cool. So this is payload, generally speaking. If you finish payload, if you finish the map, you will get the time remaining. Unless it's under a minute, then you'll be given a minute. So the lowest team, yet again, it works like 2CP. If both of you got under a minute, the one with the lower one gets counted up to a minute, and that time gets added to the other team's one. Or what will happen is if you pushed in a minute 20 seconds and I pushed into overtime, you'll get 2 minutes 20, I'll get a minute. Otherwise, if you don't finish the map, you don't get an extra minute. It just stops at an area, and that is the spot that the enemy team needs to get it to. Okay. Cool. Then we move on to hybrid. Okay, so hybrid is different. As I said, it involves 2CP and payload. Technically, 2CP is also actually just 2 control points, but I'm not going to relate these two to each other because they are very different. a control point is played extremely differently to 2CP. 2CP, just to give you an idea, is played and won by alt economy. Generally won by alt economy. Control point map is won by player skill. More based off player skill than anything. Payload is played on coordination. So how coordinated are you? Also to an extent alt economy, because you got a cap point. Hybrid, however, is a bit of all of this. Okay, so hybrid is kind of that in-between map. How hybrid works is you have a point, capture point, that has 3 ticks. So the 3 ticks on the actual scale. Womp, womp, womp. And you need to cap all 3 of those ticks to unlock point. Once point is unlocked, you'll get a payload that you then need to push to point 2 and then to a point 3 on the map. Once you capture this point, you get 1 point. Okay. And this works yet again the same as time works with payload maps. So with payload maps, you capture a point, you get 2 minutes 30. Yet again, spawns for this. The only difference between hybrid and payload, generally speaking, not really though. Payloads, as I showed you, kind of look like this, with point 1 being there, point 2 being here, point 3 being here, with starting spawn for the defenders being here somewhere, and starting spawn for the attackers being here, with payload being right over there. Okay? How these hybrid maps work is the attackers would spawn over here somewhere, defenders would spawn over here somewhere, and this distance is equidistant to get to point.
Okay.
So on a hybrid, both teams initially are the same distance from point. Whereas with payload maps, they aren't. Okay. Cool. Any questions on that?
Escort the payload.
Are you spectating, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Right. My hand is filthy.
I've got the payload and I'm moving out.
Cool. So essentially, if we look at Zarya's kit, we have a right click. How the right clicks work is if you drop that right click in a group of people, the more people in the area, the faster your ult's going to charge up.
Okay, so that only charges up your ult.
Yeah, so you get charge if they do damage to you. So there, she didn't do any damage to me, so I'm probably gonna die here. To be honest.
That's more like it.
Okay, so my left click essentially is a beam that does damage in a marked area. My right click like that boops them. So if there are 5 people in an area here and you right click into there, you'll get 5 times the ult charge for your right click. So if your right click were to only give you let's say one ult charge per person in the area, if there are 6 people there, you'll get 6. So you want to be right clicking when there are more people, rather than when there are less.
Okay.
Right now I'm just gonna try to save my Zen.
Ready for battle.
TVH doesn't matter because we have capped this point, so this trace is just all over me.
Yeah, no, a good tracer can be a pain.
Yeah, quite. Thanks. Okay, so the biggest thing about your right click that I was trying to explain was the fact that it boops people. So I'm not the best Zarya player, but you'll notice when I hit people with it, they kind of get booped upwards. Like they get booped.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to show you now if I can manage it. You see there how that creep boops. Now that boop has a arc, so an arc kind of pattern. So you know what a parabola looks like, generally
Yeah, yeah.
speaking. Like an upside down one, yeah. That is how they move when you right-click them. Now what you want to be comboing with that is right-clicking them as they move up, you want to track them downwards.
Okay.
So right-click, track downwards. I don't do it very well, I'm not really an off-tank player, but you track. Right-click, track, right-click, track, etc. Right-click, track, right-click, track. Just like that, constantly. Right-click, track. It's all you want to do, over and over and over, and that way you gain alt charge faster. Next thing that you want to know about Zarya is her left shift and her E. Generally speaking, you don't want to go forwards and then
Barrier
bubbles
activated.
and then go backwards, because you're going to die. What you want to do is you want to move forward, tank a bit of damage so that you know they're shooting at you, then bubble yourself and move backwards behind the right shield or whatever it is. Okay?
Okay.
Same generally speaking with E. E is a bit more about being predictive, firstly, but secondly, making sure that person is actually in trouble. So there, for instance, I saved that Ash's life because all I did was turn. I saw Rodog ulting. She gave me 40 charge, which is the max amount you can get for bubble. Is 40. So I got that off of her, and it was a good bubble from my side, which saved her life. That's kind of the power of Zarya. What you're going to see now is I'm just going to grab over there. The reason I'm doing that is to make sure they don't get to point. So right now they're all just stuck up there, and we safely get point, and they couldn't touch. Okay. Lots of people see Zarya's grab as a tool where you need to get lots of kills. It is definitely for that, but secondly, what it's also important for is for zoning. Okay. Is for trying to zone them out of the way, like I did there, for instance. I zoned them off point, just made sure they couldn't touch, and it was kind of done. You'll notice I'm playing very far forward, so I don't have another tank right now. Hence, as an off tank, I need to be making all the space for my team on my own. Hence why I move so far forward.
Okay.
You'll also notice the way I play around cover. Try to always keep yourself close to cover, so that if shit like that happens, for instance, I can just stand here and Bob's not going to touch me. No, I wanted him to charge me. So, for instance, that whole Bob, throughout that whole Bob, he did not shoot me once. And I've gotten this Rhino to overextend very much to my favor. Him being this far out is him being out of position. He does, however, still have charge and shield to get out, so he hasn't overextended, but he is out of position. Right now, I'm just trying to get a bit more damage, a bit more charge. You'll see I'm on 92 now. I should be able to farm my ult very quickly. You'll notice there from the Rodog, I got it almost instantaneously after I had him up. After this, I know that Mercy's going to go try res now. Oh no, never mind, we have the Bob. So because we have the Bob, the Mercy won't actually res, we should be fine here. I'm pushing this Reinhardt. There's nothing he can do in that situation. That's why I'm pushing him. The Bob is right next to him. If he drops his shield, the Bob's gonna kill him. If he doesn't drop his shield and tries to swing, you get me, like, he's not gonna survive either way. I mean, the other way around. But yeah. So right now there I'm just trying to help the Mercy out because Amura is hard focusing her with the ult. I do see there's a Rodog in there, so I'm gonna just pop that there, kill this Mercy here, see if I can take out the Mei early. But I couldn't, unfortunately. That's fine, I should be able to get another one fairly quickly. This Kree is gonna eat me up though. As an off-tank player, you want to be tanking that for your team.
Okay.
So you see I died to Kree, but my whole team has got a 4 picks out of that whole process, even though I sacrificed myself and died. Before the whole fight even started. So that's what you want to be doing as off-tank. You want to enable the rest of your team constantly. Instead of trying to help yourself. So you'll see what I'm doing now is if Ryan can shattering me, would be nice. I'm doing a right click jump. Sorry?
Nothing, so my dad just said something.
Okay. So what you can do is you can play with this right click jump. So if you time your right click and jump correctly, what will happen is you'll jump higher.
Okay.
So let me show you, give you an example of that. So, for instance here, I can jump onto there. I can't really jump up here.
Yeah.
I can almost do it. So from here I can't get up there.
Yeah.
I can almost get up there from here.
Okay.
I can barely do it because I'm not really a Zarya player. But if you go watch some Zarya streamers, they'll show you very quickly how to do it. If you get really good, you toss one right click up in the air. So you can toss it up in the air and then you use that with another one. So you kind of do the, I can't do it because that's going to hit there, but it would land and then you jump up with it.
Okay.
Get in there.
Cool. So
Nice.
essentially that's what you want to be doing with Zarya. You want to be trying to work backline and frontline. Unfortunately, I didn't have any other tanks, so I had to play frontline constantly.
Okay.
Which is fine. Some games you'll just need to do that, and that's how it will go. Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
66.
Okay, cool. So here I'll be playing a bit of Roadhog. Roadhog's kit consists of a self-heal, which is his E, take a breather. You self-heal, I think, 250, 300 damage. But what it allows you to do is all damage you take is halved. So if you're taking a breather and healing yourself, and the enemy team's damaging you, they are only doing 50% of the damage that they'd actually do.
Okay.
His other ability is his hook. So
Never
his hook,
stop fighting for
what you want to be comboing his hook with is a left click punch very fast in quick succession.
Yeah.
Like this. Okay. So generally what it should be looking like is hook, left click, melee. Okay. As soon as the person gets to you. You'll notice also his left click is a shotgun. So close range it has minimal spread. The further out I stand and the further away I stand, you'll notice how it spreads more and more out. The shots, like all the little pellets.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, cool. However, his right click has essentially what it does, it explodes at an exact distance. So if I'm shooting here, there's nothing on the wall you can see left behind. When I move closer and I right click now, there's something stuck in it. You see that?
Yeah.
It's kind of a little ball. Now that little ball has an exploding point. There. You get me?
Yeah.
That explodes just at this distance, and that can insta headshot 150 HP targets. So
Okay.
baby divas, tracers, and you can almost headshot any 200 HP hero as well. So he does lots of damage. You want to be using right click for longer range, left click for closer range. Okay.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that Anna is very low there. So here I'm just going to heal up. You'll notice I didn't take as much damage as I was meant to. Gonna left click him again. Baby Diva, you can practically hunt down your big ass hog. Don't be scared of things. You're gonna get low on HP lots of times. Just gotta get used to it. That's how it goes. Okay, so essentially I'm just gonna try hug this wall here. Seeing as we don't have any other main tanks again, I'm using this as cover. It's kind of like my main tank. I can put it that way. So right now, just trying to push that Zarya, try help my Moira out. My Moira is a fucking retard though, so we're not gonna get anywhere. Right now, I'm just gonna try heal up. This trick is hunting my beef. She is now gone. Here, I'm gonna be looking to pop my ult. I just want to heal up first, and then pop it. Thanks. So here I'm not going to heal myself, I'm rather going to opt for the hook on someone, see if we can get that big kill, and now I can pop heals so that I can actually keep this pressure on them, and allow my soldier to ult, as you can see he's doing now. So I'm going to push the Zarya. The reason I'm doing that is they are 2 down. Now they're 3 down, and they're about to be 4 down, which means we can take this fight and this Diva's feeding us. So there we go. Now I'm gonna back up because there's no point now. There might be one or two coming out, but you can't stay here forever. It's kind of just taking that staggered fight where they aren't 6 and we are, and we just kind of push that advantage. So that's why some games you'll have where you literally stand outside spawn and they hold you there. You get me? Whereas other games, you'll hold them in spawn. It's because your DPS is good enough, but also their game sense is so bad that they're just never regrouping. So, you just wreck them.
And why are you jumping so much?
Okay, so I'm jumping to make it harder to hit myself in the head.
Okay.
I am doing it extremely repetitively, like in pattern. That's not what you're meant to be doing. So what you are meant to try do with all your heroes is not jump in such a repetitive pattern. So you don't want to go hop, 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 because that's natural.
Okay.
You want to kind of change it up with crouch, your AD spamming, you want to move it around, hop here and there.
Excuse me.
I mean, if you look at how big I am and how little damage they've actually done to me, it's sad. Like, I should be dead by now, but I'm not. Just because firstly, they are struggling to hit me, but secondly, it's just because I'm moving around and not giving them the ability to just headshot me outright.
Hello.
Oh gosh, see, a hook will fuck out like that sometimes. It's very iffy when it comes to shooting it around corners. So just watch for that. Otherwise, watch out for Anna Purples. Anna Purples will fuck your life up. Because your self-heal does not heal through the purple. Okay. I'm trying to actually get the distance for you, right, so I can show you what that headshot looks like. But I can't do it now. It seems. It literally like insta-kills. It's very nice. Hello, Nano Diva, not fun. So we don't want to be really fighting that. So there, that was a fat headshot, that's what it looks like.
I have your back.
You're powered up. Get in
Yeah,
there.
this in the bag. Hey,
Die, Widow.
hey. Walk it off.
Oh, okay. Did you try to flick him off the cliff there?
Yes, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to move them just off there. Hoping for the best. But it didn't work. Thanks. So that's generally what you want to be doing with Hog. Play specifically with your self-heal. Make sure you are in a position where you can use it and get out. Or in a position where you can pop it and still stay alive, kind of thing. Okay.